The top 7 real mermaid sightings since ancient times worldwide. Actually, there would be 8 because I'm including someone very special, Alexander the Great, and the myth of his sister, the mermaid. The legend of Alexander the Great and his sister, the mermaid, most popular myth about the mermaid, is connected with Alexander the Great according to Alexander Romance, a collection of legends concerning his exploits composed in the 3rd century but very popular throughout the Middle Ages. One of Alexander's soldiers managed to find the water of life, or immortal water, during the expedition, but did not reveal the secret to Alexander so that he could become immortal. Later on, the people's imagination changed the story a little. In the popular myth, Alexander collects the water in a cup, but his sister drinks it or spills it by accident, and this sister is often identified with a real person, his sister named Thessaloniki, who gave her name to the 2nd biggest city of Greece, in the northern Greece area. In a rage, Alexander curses her to become half woman and half fish, but she bears him no grudge. She travels the sea and asks the sailors if King Alexander is still alive, and the wise sailors should answer, "He is alive and reigns and conquers the world. Ziki Vasilevi ke to kosmo kirievi," so that she lets them continue their voyage. But if they make the mistake and answer that he's dead, she flies into a fury and sinks their ship. But now let's go to the remainder, the 7 real mermaid sightings. When we think of mermaids, we typically picture a beautiful girl with a seashell bikini, but that's what we want them to look like. In actuality, if mermaids do indeed exist, wouldn't it make sense that they would look more like fish than nasty scales, slimy, slippery hair, all messed up from soaking in seaweed, seawater since they were born, skin all wrinkly, gills on the neck, etc. Of course, mankind has been fascinated with mermaids for centuries. Cultures from all over the world, since antiquity, seem to have mermaids in their folklore, oftentimes with very similar description, but do they really exist? So for those of you who really need Ariel to exist, here are 7 sightings of mermaids from around the world. But let me go back to something else that I just found concerning mermaids. One person involved with the documentary having to do with mermaids says the seafaring Greeks described them, as did the Vikings, as did the Chinese during their greatest period of maritime exploration. They are recorded in medieval manuscripts and even into the 19th century. We even know that Christopher Columbus says he spotted mermaids on his trip to the new land. So keep a weary out at the beach this summer because they're out there, and all that sonar testing over the years has probably made them pretty cranky. And now let's go to our listing. Mankind has been fascinated with mermaids for centuries, and cultures from all over the world all seem to have mermaids in their folklore, oftentimes with very similar descriptions. But do they exist? Let's see. Christopher Columbus saw them. On January 9th, 1493, Christopher Columbus observed mermaids on the coast of Africa. He described his experience in his journal, in which he described the encounter with 3 mermaids that, quote, were not as beautiful as they are painted, although to some extent they have a human appearance in the face, end quote. But of course, skeptics think that he was actually looking at a few chubby manatees. Well, you cannot say that a manatee looks anything like a human in the face. Please. Now, number 6, Henry Hudson saw them too. Henry Hudson, explorer and discoverer of the Hudson River, and the Hudson Bay in Canada was also named after him, recorded seeing a real mermaid near Russia. He wrote in his log, 2 crew members, Thomas Hillis and Robert Raynar, sighted a mermaid at 75 degrees 7 minutes north and shouted at the rest of the crew to come and look. Hudson further recorded it as having a tail of a porpoise and speckled like a mackerel. Number 5, sighting in 1943 at K Islands, Indonesia. In 1943, at the time of World War II, several mermaids were spotted by Japanese soldiers on the shores of the K Islands in Indonesia. They reported seeing them swimming in the water and resting on the beach. A description of one on the beach is as follows. Roughly 4 foot 9 inches, that's 150 centimeters tall, pinkish skin, human-looking face and limbs, spikes along its head, and a mouth like a carp. When Sergeant Taro Horiba heard news of a dead mermaid that was washed up on the shore, he went to examine it. After seeing it with his own eyes, he was convinced. After his return to Japan, he urged scientists to go and study such mermaids. However, his claims were turned down because no one believed him, and as a result, no investigation was undertaken. Locals refer to mermaids as orang ikan, or fish people, in Malay. There have been several such sightings in the area, and apparently mermaids have reportedly been caught in fishing nets on odd occasions. Number 4 is in 1967 in British Columbia, Canada. This sighting occurred when tourists who were on a ferry saw a woman with the tail of a dolphin. She was described as having beautiful blonde hair and was seen eating salmon. The sighting was reported in the Times Colonist newspaper and drew a lot of attention, but no one has spotted it since. August 1991 in South Africa. About 30% of the remains of an unknown human-like creature was found in the belly of a dead great white shark in southern Africa. The body was then examined and determined to have hands and a humanoid skull. A barb was left jam in the shark's jaws, which was later claimed to be the mermaid's weapon. Number 2, sighting in 2012 in Zimbabwe, Africa. Mermaids have been sighted on a number of occasions in Zimbabwe. It's claimed that efforts to complete the building of dams were delayed by mermaids. Apparently, mermaids had harassed the workers when they were installing water pumps. Minister Nkomo said to Zimbabwe's state-approved Herald newspapers that, quote, all the officers I have sent have vowed not to go back there. We have hired whites thinking that our boys did not want to work, but they also returned saying they would not return to work there again, Nkomo added. And number 1, May 2013, in Kiryat Yam in Israel. Kiryat Yam is the only place in the world where a $1 million reward is up for grabs for the first person who can provide conclusive footage capturing a real mermaid. The local government has offered this reward in response to the numerous mermaid sightings there. One of the first people to see a mermaid there was Shlomo Cohen. He said, quote, I was with friends when suddenly we saw a woman lying on the sand in a weird way. At first I thought she was just another sunbather, but when we approached, she jumped into the water and disappeared. We were all in shock because we saw she had a tail. There were so many unknowns in the world, and every legend and myth has elements of truth to them, especially ones that are shared across cultures since ancient times, for example, the Great Flood. And keep in mind, over 95% of the oceans on Earth are unexplored. 95%. So who knows what may or may not exist in them. This is on Beyond Science TV. I'll leave a link below for you for this. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. and we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.